Next up was Nikahang Kowsar, an Iranian political cartoonist who had to flee his country.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, it's an honor to be here, thanks to wonderful people we have here. I want to start by showing a number of cartoons. A number of them are mine, a number of them are my very good colleagues, Iranian cartoonists living out of the country. Over here, yes, you see this small character of mine. I call him Sick Nick. Nick comes from my name. You must be sick to become a journalist in Iran. So you're nuts. So what happened to me 7 years ago is I had to leave the country. But I wasn't ready for that. So I seek refuge in Canada. I was lucky not to be frozen, but it's a very good country. They're very polite. And I've had the pleasure of meeting with a lot of good and great people. But my friends right now in France, Turkey, Iraq, Pakistan, the Iranian journalists who fled the country after the election are not that lucky. They're living in hostels, camps. And when they were describing their experiences, it was awful. The couple were living in Paris on just 150 euros a month that they had, except they were just lucky to have somewhere to live and stay. So when I asked them to come to Paris to see me, they had to, I think, pay 8 or 9 francs for their ticket. So that was a burden for them. I cannot imagine. Everything starts from freedom of speech in Iran, but we have a saying, there is freedom of speech. Don't make a mistake, we have freedom of speech in Iran. We don't have freedom after speech. So, I don't have to talk about it, you know what's going on there. What I told you about coming back from Europe, because I just arrived last night, and it was no fun dealing with the very lovely Homeland Security people who are here, because I had 4 S's on my boarding pass. And I was going to talk about netizens. It sounded like Nazis and SS, I don't know. So it was awful. I was feeling that I was labeled by these people to be a dangerous person. It took about an hour and a half for them to understand that no, the only person that I can harm is myself. So I went to Europe instead of acting like a tourist and visiting the Louvre or say museums or going to Clothilde. I went to visit my poor colleagues who have fled Iran after the June presidential election. Just this morning, I had a conversation with one of my colleagues who was recently freed on bail. He's suffering from headaches, nightmares, and what I call daymares instead of nightmares. Because he has insomnia and can't sleep during the night, and so he has bad dreams during the day. He's taking antidepressants and sleeping pills to go back to his normal days, but it's impossible. Many Iranian reporters have become accidental immigrants. Last year, they were hoping for a new government to replace Mr. Ahmadinejad. But today, a number of these poor journalists are either imprisoned or living in camps and hostels in Turkey, Iraq, France, and other countries. Many of them had to leave before getting arrested by the security forces, and many didn't want to be silenced by the Iranian judiciary. I'm an accidental immigrant myself. I never thought of going to Paris to visit my colleagues, but fled the country. Isn't it funny? I had to visit a reporter who could have been in prison now, but I was visiting him near Basti, the Basti Square, where you have the Basti prison. What's the problem with Iranian journalism? Before that, I'll go back to the cartoons and then I'll give you a preach. I'll preach you. This is what's happening right now in the eyes of cartoonists. So many people are stuck in the beard of the Ayatollahs. Censorship reminds you of Jaws. So they would be attacking the press. And then you have a president who claims to win 62.6% of the votes. I couldn't believe that a newspaper would publish my cartoon, but it did. In Canada. Oh, those polite people. So in Iran, Pinocchio wins.
By nose.
Exactly, by a nose. So that's the thing. In Iran, many women go and get nose jobs, but Pinocchio doesn't. Ask the Iranian public. And what happens? He knows what to do with his nose. So many people over here, not over here, in this cartoon I mean, have been in trouble after the election. And you don't know what you're talking about. If you say something that the government dislikes, instead of a microphone, you might face a gun. And this is what they want you to sing. This is the story of Iranian journalists. We're bearing our own crosses. I call this cartoon The Sound of Silence. And this is happening just now. This microphone doesn't love me. We always have to keep balance, but
Somebody.
we always have to keep balance, but just to stay alive. And sometimes, because of our actions as a reporter or as a journalist, we might face harm. During the elections, it's hard for the Iranian reporters to keep balanced, to be balanced. The problem is many Iranian reporters are either with the government or against the government. So the problem starts from this very important point. Many newspapers act as political parties in Iran. So how could a dependent journalist be an independent monitor of power? So that's the good problem that I'm going to talk about. Not a good problem, it's a nasty problem. The thing about the Iranian government is that it hates whistleblowers. Many whistleblowers love to work for the press, so pressing an oppressive regime gradually has its own backlash, and you end up with many depressed journalists who lose their jobs, like my friend who was just free from prison a week ago.